Then come on across to
Thank you for joining us this evening on The Experience. Now, most of you have had the experience of going out to vote. Pretty easy process. You show up at your polling place, you walk up, they ask you, where do you live? You tell them where you live, you tell them your name, you get your ballot, you go, you vote. There's a movement afoot, not only here in Massachusetts, but really across the nation, to show your ID. Show identification when you go to vote. So when you walk up, they would say, where do you live? You would hand them your ID. They would take a look at it. They would check you off. Now, there's been quite a bit of controversy over this, most recently at a special election, at a special Democratic primary in the town of Southbridge. Here to tell us a little bit about that, his involvement and his role in that. Tom, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
You are the founder of Show ID to Vote.
Myself and Ralph Zazula, yes.
Tell me a little bit about Show ID to Vote and how the idea for this came about.
Well, the idea came about, I ran for Congress in the 5th District, did not win the primary, and we were talking afterwards and we said, okay, if you lose and it's fair, you can accept it. If you lose and extra votes were counted one way or another, it would be difficult to accept.
So you felt in the Republican primary that there had been some extra votes
counted?
Oh,
no, we didn't think that at all. We were just looking as once you get involved politically or you start doing something and you realize that the country could use some help from normal citizens.
Do you think right now, though, I mean, as part of this to show the ID to vote, do you think that there is voter fraud? And then my follow-up would be, do you think that there is massive voter fraud? Because I think there's two different questions.
Yeah, there are two different questions. They just came out in Colorado where they had actually registered over 5,000 non-citizens to vote, and they voted. There was a case down in Florida where the town clerk actually with the absentee ballots had brought in something like 20,000 new people.
Now, would showing your ID, would that do away with that kind of fraud?
The Kansas just set up a thing if you do an absentee ballot, because you know early enough if you're going to do, you actually have to show your ID to get the absentee ballot, and then you vote and put it in the thing. Well, that makes sense.
And I think on my, if I were to vote absentee, I have to sign it at some point too, so then they could check my signature.
And they're supposed to check your signature. Yes.
All right. So you have Show ID to Vote. Now, this seems to me that, I mean, a lot of Americans, whether it's a Republican issue or a Democratic issue, showing your ID to vote ought to be an issue where people just think, yeah, that makes sense, or it doesn't make sense. Why has it become such a polarizing issue where it seems as if conservatives, yes, show ID to vote, liberals, no, don't show your ID to vote?
I don't know why I don't know why there's such a turmoil about it. When you look at our rights, or what are the benefits of being a citizen? Okay, one of the benefits are we get to participate in the voting process. And people will tell me that there's a lot of people that aren't citizens and they're involved because they pay taxes, this and that. And I go, yes, that's true. But as a citizen, we're committed. We are truly committed. It's kind of like a bacon and egg breakfast, the chicken's involved, but the pig's committed. Well, as citizens, we're committed to this country. We can't go any place if it falls. Now, somebody that comes here that's a non-citizen and votes, they can go home. We can't. This is our home. That's why it's important.
So we come back again to the fact that you feel that there are a number of non-citizens who don't have the right to vote here in America who are actually taking part in the election and are voting.
Non-citizens, and also there's evidence of people voting twice. People, when we teach the course, we tell people it's very important that you have poll watchers there early in the morning, because we found stories and this and that. Nobody's been convicted of it, because and I don't know why, but we found stories where people actually go and vote early.
Well, now you just talked about,
now you come in and vote, and then somebody's voted for me.
Yeah. Now, you just talked about the poll watchers and about the training. This is something that your organization and other organizations do, train poll watchers. Recently, this has really been a flashpoint down in Southbridge at the special election. Before the election even happened, before the special primary even happened, the town clerk and the town manager came out and said they were nervous that your group and Empower Massachusetts, another group which also wants people to show ID, were going to intimidate voters, specifically that you were going to intimidate Latino voters, and that was actually really what you were after, that you wanted a segment of the voting population to stay away from the polls.
No, this is a country, sometimes it seems to me we haven't been melting lately, but we are a melting pot. And when you come here, whether you be born here or a naturalized citizen, you have the privilege and the right to vote. It doesn't matter. Color is not one of the reasons that you can't vote. You know,
So
it has nothing to do. All it has is citizenship.
From your point of view, what's happened in Southbridge? There were 24 challenges, which to me seems like a lot. I mean, when a challenge happens, what's that process? Why would a poll watcher challenge someone? And is 24 in a town of Southbridge, what, about 14,000 people? Is that a lot?
Well, you had, I think it was 3,000 votes.
Mm-hmm.
So 1% would be 30, so you're talking 0.5% was challenged.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a lot? I don't know. I don't know the reasons why they were challenged. We teach if you go and you say, what's your street address, and you have to look and pull out something from your pocket and read your street address, 1 Main Street, I'd like to challenge that voter. Now, at that point, the voter produces ID. If they pass and they're who they say, then they vote.
So they would have to have ID on them anyway to be able to do that.
When you go to vote, you're supposed to carry ID in case
ID.
the warden asks you.
And I was just going to say, now we're talking about the poll observers, and then it would be the poll worker. Seems to me if a guy's pulling out a piece of paper, or if you ask somebody their address and they don't know their address, that the poll worker's job then, if his main job is to say, what's your address, and then to check it off, he wouldn't be able to do that job. What should happen then?
The poll workers and the poll warden, if they see something, they're the first line of defense to ensure the integrity of the vote. They are.
Right.
And they should. If you know, what's your name, and the person goes and pulls out another, you know, to know the name, they should spot that. They should ask for follow-on. That's reasonable suspicion that something's amiss. You don't know what, so you now pull out an identification. And in this state, identification can be a utility bill.
Right. Tom, privilege for us to vote in America, or a right for us to vote in America?
I believe we've had this conversation with many people, and I believe it's a privilege because it ends up being a right, but it's a privilege granted by the government because they've changed who can vote over the course of this country.
Let's get more into that straight ahead.
Okay.
Thank you for being with us. Show ID to vote. And by the way, as we were talking about, you know, a utility bill, it can be anything. If you go to the website and you take a look at the video, you'll see that even a caveman can vote as long as he brings his identification. Of course, it's a little heavy to carry this around with you in your back pocket. Much more to come right here on the Hank Stolz Experience.